Ayy, look, yeah, ayy. I'm in the lab like Dexter, brand new batch he tested. I'm with all the extras, don't try and bitch, I'm pressure. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers.
I think I'm ready to go ahead and move into our NBA award predictions. So pretty much how we're going to be doing this is we're going to be going off what we predicted at the beginning of the year, our original predictions, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up with our final predictions of who we think is going to walk away with the award since the regular season has officially wrapped up a couple of days ago.
Okay, so for the MVP, I had Giannis winning it, and then for a dark horse, I had Jason Tatum. Defensive Player of the Year, I had Bam winning it, and my dark horse was Robert Williams. My most improved player was Anthony Simons.
Let's start with MVP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had Giannis,
well.
man.
You had Giannis?
Yeah.
And then who do you got winning now? Original prediction and final prediction.
Now
you'll know my pick.
You know who's winning now.
Embiid, bruh.
Yeah, so Embiid's winning now, but Giannis was my original prediction. I still feel like.
What do you think is Giannis might finish second at this rate?
I feel like he's gonna finish second, but a lot of people, they forgot about Giannis when the arguments happened between Embiid and Jokic. The media, they made it between Embiid, Jokic early on in the season, middle of the season, even towards the end of the season. It was all talk about Embiid's this and then versus Jokic. Jokic's averaging triple-double. Everybody forgot about Giannis. We're forgetting the season that he had this year, finishing first seed, best record in the NBA, averaging 31-12 on great efficiency, a phenomenal defender. And I feel like people overreacted to the little beef between Jokic and Embiid. So I feel like people forgot about Giannis, but Embiid's going to win the MVP this year.
I think Embiid's gonna walk away with it, but honestly, I do think that Nikola Jokic should be the MVP again. But it's just crazy. All three fan bases, Giannis fans, Jokic fans, Embiid fans. It's just hilarious to see how they've all turned on each other, pretty much going against one another, trying to give their player the respective edge in order to win this award. But the way that things are going, obviously we can see with our own two eyes that Joel Embiid is going to get this. I'm gonna go ahead and call it a sympathy MVP award. He can go ahead and have this. I don't think he understands how much pressure comes along with winning this award, but I feel like even with him putting up a monster season, Nikola Jokic still had a better season, and I feel like I don't know. Obviously, the MVP criteria changes, like Giannis and Embiid have said. So I'm not too sure what Nikola Jokic could have done in order for him to win his third MVP. But my final prediction, of course, would be Jokic, but I do know that, of course, Embiid's going to win it. But now we go ahead and move on to Defensive Player of the Year. And I don't think this one's as obvious as people make it out to be.
Well, so should I start off with what I had?
Yeah, start off with your original prediction, and then end off with your final prediction. And if you have an honorable mention, you can go ahead and say it.
So my Defensive Player of the Year that I picked to start the season was Bam. My dark horse was Robert Williams, and who I think is going to win it is Jaren Jackson Jr. And actually, I have no problem with that at all. I think Jaren Jackson has been phenomenal defensively this season. He's been the reason why the Memphis Grizzlies have engineered a top 3 defense, since he's a shot block leader. This guy's just been ridiculous in terms of weak side rim protection, just rim deterrence. So I have no issue with him winning this. I do think there is a case for Brook Lopez, but I got Jaren Jackson winning this.
Yeah, mine was Bam. I don't think I put down a dark horse, but who do I think is going to win? I think Jaren Jackson's going to win it. I feel like this year he stepped up phenomenally on the defensive side of the ball, especially with the blocks that he's averaging, even with the steals and everything. He's been the anchor to that Memphis defense, and they're sitting at second seed. So I went originally with Bam, but his team, kind of slow start. They've been, inconsistent throughout the season. But Jared Jackson, for me, I feel like he's going to win. Other players, honorable mentions, Mobley, Brook Lopez. Those two guys have been playing phenomenal on the defensive side of the ball, but I just think Jaren Jackson just took the step over.
My original prediction, I think you guys are gonna laugh at this one, but I had Rudy Gobert winning. Yeah, I had Rudy Gobert winning this award. I'm not too entirely sure why. I think I said something about like him being the putting a lot more emphasis on just defense and having Cat worry about the offensive side. But I think for my final prediction, I had to take some time to think about this one. But I do think Evan Mobley is deserving of this award, so I think he's gonna win this award. I think he's an elite one-on-one defender, elite pick and roll defender, elite rim protector. He's versatile. He can guard 1 through 5 with no problem. He did lead the #1 defense in all of basketball with a defensive rating of 109.9, and he's top 10 in minutes played this year. And the reason why I say that is because I look at a guy like Jaren Jackson, who's my honorable mention. The guy averages about 28 minutes a game as a big. That's already a knock. It's a flaw, right? You're a big man. You're supposed to be the rim protector, but you're averaging 28 minutes. So where are we going wrong here, right? This guy just fouls too much. Him being a foul trouble is a huge issue for the Memphis Grizzlies, and without him being on the floor, these guys don't necessarily play defense. He's the anchor, and I understand that, but his ability to stay out of foul trouble is just terrible. He can't do it, and so he's only played about 1,600 minutes and has committed 211 fouls this year. Let me go ahead and I say that because I want to add some context to it. Bam Adebayo has played 2,600 minutes this year and has committed less fouls than Jaren Jackson Jr. and he averages more minutes played than Jaren Jackson. So when you look at it from that perspective, it's like, obviously we understand that Jaren Jackson's a hell of a defender, and he's obviously the Memphis Grizzlies will not be where they are in terms of being a top 3 defensive team without him. But at the end of the day, if this guy is struggling to stay on the floor for over 28 minutes per game, it's just a huge knock for me in terms of giving somebody the Defensive Player of the Year award, because I feel like this wasn't an issue when we were giving it to Rudy Gobert, when we gave it to Marcus Smart last year, and I feel like this has to be mentioned, especially when you're comparing him to a guy like Evan Mobley, who I feel like has had a tremendous defensive season. Although obviously the numbers like the blocks and stuff don't necessarily look great in comparison to guys like Brook Lopez or Jaren Jackson, but at the same time, this guy's versatility is insane. His ability to guard from all 5 positions out on the floor. There's not a lot of people in the league that can do that. There's only 2 or 3 guys that can do that, and Bam is one of those guys. Draymond's one of those guys. And I think Evan Mobley's in that discussion. So for me, I think he's the one that's deserving enough to win this Defensive Player of the Year award. But my honorable mention is Jaren Jackson. So I feel like
My thing is though, my counter to the whole minutes played per game is yes, he does tend to have foul issues that do come up, but with Jaren Jackson Jr., the Memphis Grizzlies in general, they don't play their stars or their players a lot of minutes. Just look at Jaws minutes, for example. I think he only plays about close to 32, 33 minutes per game. Jaren Jackson's about 28 minutes per game. Dylan Brooks, Desmond Bain, these guys don't play like a huge amount of games. I think that's just like the Grizzlies' approach with how they play. And I just feel like when this guy came back, I think November or something, he had just a huge impact defensively for this team. Like he just came in, they were just rock solid again defensively. And yes, he commits fouls. It is an issue for him that it does pop up, but in terms of just like preventing players from scoring the basketball, I feel like this guy does the best job of any player in the NBA this season. So that's why I have him as my #1 defensive player.
I mean, I feel like you can't go wrong with either or. Another guy that definitely should be in the running, and I'm pretty sure will be in the running, is Brook Lopez. Man, I feel like he's had an underrated season as a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. Man, I think I remember vividly when I think they mentioned it early on in the season, and Big H was clowning on it. So I do remember that conversation that we had early on in the year when they were considering Brook Lopez to be Defensive Player of the Year. But this guy, he's been great for them with Giannis off the floor. Obviously, you take into account he has Giannis on the floor, another Defensive Player of the Year type guy. Obviously, it's gonna be clamps on that and on the front court. So, he's had a great season. This award can go either way. So, I just personally have Evan Mobley winning it, but if Jaren Jackson comes away with it, I'm not necessarily mad. But with that being said, we'll go ahead and move on to our Coach of the Year.
So, my Coach of the Year.
Actually, hold on.
Or
We'll go ahead and move on to most improved player of the year. Yeah.
So my most improved player was Anthony Simons. And then my honorable mention was Tyrese Maxey. And the player that I think that is gonna win it this year is definitely Lauri Markkanen, in my opinion. I think he should be the favorite to win this award. I don't know. I've seen people mentioning Shea as a candidate. I've seen people mention Nick Claxton, who I definitely believe Nick Claxton should be at least mentioned in these discussions. But I feel like Lauri Markkanen is taking an absolutely huge leap. And with Shea, second half of the season last year, he's always been like a fringe all-star level player. And now he's actually like an all-NBA type of player. So I don't feel like that's as huge of a leap as it is with Lauri Markkanen just going from like a role player to like an absolute stud, a star. And I feel like Nick Claxton should be mentioned as an honorable mention for this year's running. I mean, the guy, it's kind of crazy to me that Kyrie and KD left kind of just eliminated his defensive player of the year voting, or just his hype around winning defensive player of the year, even though he hasn't taken a step back defensively. Nick Claxton, he's just been phenomenal. And if I had to vote myself for the second team in terms of the centers for the All NBA defensive team, he would be on my second team for centers, because this guy has the ability to switch out on guys. He's a great shot blocker. He has a long wingspan. He's able to get steals, and he should be mentioned. But Lauri Markkanen, he's a winner for me this year.
For me, I had Edwards as most improved. I had Maxey as an honorable mention, but Lauri Markkanen is going to win this most improved. The minute he got traded to Utah, he took that next step forward, what's he averaging? 26, 8, and like 2. And he's been good on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think anybody else is close to him. Abdi did mention Nick Claxton, but the way Lauri Markkanen took the step forward is phenomenal and crazy. And you could say Shea, but Shea was already walking into that superstardom. He was already going to walk into that superstar level regardless. So I got Lauri Markkanen winning the most improved.
Yeah, I was right there with you, Big H. I had Anthony Edwards as my original prediction. I just feel like he didn't take a strong enough leap this year. He's still a hell of a player, but when you look at the numbers, it just wasn't as big of a gap. It was big of a leap to, of course, Lauri Markkanen, who I feel like, of course, as we all know, is going to walk away with this award easily. Jumping from 15 points per game to 26 points per game, shooting 50% from the field, 39% from three, and 88% from the free throw line. This guy was a potential candidate for 50, 40, 90 club. So he's gonna walk away with this one. I think this one's a no brainer. I did think about Shea for a little bit, but at the same time, I feel like his leap still wasn't as big enough as Lauri Markkanen's. And of course, I feel like we saw glimpses of Shea kind of step into his own last year. We didn't see any glimpses of Lauri Markkanen being the player he is today in Cleveland when he was rotting away over there. So he's gonna win this one. Sixth man of the year is an interesting one.
This one I gotta give you this one though. This one I gotta give you this one, but I had Christian Wood winning this award to start the season, and my honorable mention was Malcolm Brogdon, and who I think that will win this year. This one is really tough for me. This one is mad tough, but I got Emmanuel Quickly winning this award for me. I feel like Quickly, like, he's come off the bench and contributed like mightily. Like, it's so hard for me to pick between these two guys. I feel like Malcolm Brogdon has done an excellent job defensively when he's coming to the Celtics. He's played phenomenal, great shooter. But Emmanuel Quickly, I feel like he's been that burst of energy that the Knicks needed off the bench, especially in games where Jalen Brunson went out and he started. The guy's been phenomenal. I think he averages 22 as a starter. So this guy on and off the bench, when he comes in, he contributes right away. And he's been, to me, an underrated all NBA defensive caliber type of player. Defensively, he's been great this season. So him and Malcolm Brogdon, I feel like is neck and neck, and you can't go wrong with either one of them. But I have Emmanuel Quickly winning this.
I don't know why I picked this guy in the beginning of the year. I always had beef with this guy. I picked Jordan Poole. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I'm not gonna lie.
It was the obvious pick. That's the thing. It was the obvious pick.
It was basically, he did average 20 points this year, but his shooting levels went down. His 3-point percentage went down. His defense is still horrible, but I don't know why I picked him. But to me, it's going to be between Quickly and Malcolm Brogdon. I feel like, the thing against Quickly is that they said he started at least 23 games. I think it was 22 or 23 games this year.
21 games started.
Yeah.
Games started compared to like Brogdon didn't start anything. But for me, is like, I feel like Brogdon was already an established player. Like coming into the Celtics team, he was already an established player. He was already set. We already know what type of player he was. So for me to see Quickly, jump from what he was on this Knicks team and contribute as much as he can, he's been a phenomenal player off the bench, and he's been a phenomenal player as a starter. So I'm gonna kind of give the edge to Quickly. He kind of helped the Knicks, rise up to where they at right now. But the Celtics, even without Brogdon, they were a top 3 seed last year. So for them to be in the same position with him, I just feel like Quickly, he has done more for the Knicks than Brogdon has done more for the Celtics.
Nah, I missed on pretty much majority of my original predictions to start off the year, but this one I'm sticking with it. I'm sticking with my guns in this one. I had Malcolm Brogdon winning this one. I had to really think outside the box. I couldn't take the obvious pick in Jordan Poole, and I didn't even think about Emmanuel quickly to begin with. I feel like he started to come onto the scene second half of the season. But I had Malcolm Brogdon winning, and I still have Malcolm Brogdon winning. And I feel like my honorable mention is IQ, as Emmanuel quickly. But I feel like what's going to separate these two guys is the fact that Malcolm Brogdon did what he did this entire season without playing a single game as a starter. And I feel like most of Emmanuel Quickly's big games and big performances this past season uh, were games where he started, and he started 21 games this year. I feel like that's going to be the separating factor between these two guys. They had similar numbers. They both averaged around 15 points per game, averaged about 4 rebounds and a couple assists. Malcolm Brogdon shot, amazing along with, Quickly as well. 48% from the field, 44% from three, 87% from the free throw line. Quickly was at 45, 37, and 81. So it's honestly a real toss up. Emmanuel Quickly has really stepped up for the New York Knicks. He's supposed to be what Tyrese Maxey is to Philly, what Jordan Poole is to the Warriors, what Anthony Simons is to Portland. That's what Emmanuel Quickly is supposed to be. And I feel like, Tom Thibodeau got him completely wrong and with not giving him an opportunity early on in the season. And I feel like he's taken, this opportunity that he's gotten in the second half, and he's pretty much ran with it. And he's entered himself in this conversation for sixth man of the year. But like I said, I'm sticking with my guns. I still believe Malcolm Brogdon is deserving of this award. And what's going to separate these two guys is the fact that he hasn't started a single game this entire season. But I wouldn't be mad if they ended up going in a different direction and they ended up giving it to Malcolm Brogdon, but not to Emmanuel Quickly. But it is what it is. We're just gonna have to wait and see. But now we go ahead and move on to Rookie of the Year. I feel like this one should be simple. I mean, I'm not too sure if you guys had Paulo. Actually, you guys didn't have Paulo. I'm gonna let you guys go.
I had Keegan Murray winning this award, and Paulo was my honorable mention. The reason why I had Keegan Murray was just I feel like we went over this a lot, was just being the most NBA ready out of teams. But I didn't expect the Kings to have like such huge contributions from every other play. From De'Aaron Fox taking a step up in Sabonis, and Kevin Hurd and Malik Monk. So Keegan Murray was kind of limited to a catch and shoot type of role, contributing role, which is still fine. But to me, he was the most NBA ready. And then Paolo, my honorable mention, who I think is still gonna obviously run away with this award this season based on what the voting has looked like recently. I think he's gonna be winning this award, and he was definitely deserving. I mean, the guy averaged about 20 points and 7 rebounds this season, stepping into an Orlando team to be that has a very bright future. And they started off 4-20, and they finished the season really strong. And I feel like next season, this team, after they have their 2 lottery picks, 7 and 12 is where they're projected to pick. They're going to take an even bigger leap, and Paulo is going to become an even more efficient player, a better defender, and even a better playmaker. So, he has a lot of room to grow. So he's definitely the Rookie of the Year to me. And so, of course, you guys already know who my honorable mention is for this year. It's going to be Jalen Williams, who, has been phenomenal the second half of this season. This guy's been a two-way threat. Defensively, he's done it, and offensively, he's been historically efficient. So I'm not mad at him finishing second. He came to the season. Nobody had their eyes on Jalen Williams. Chet was the one that everybody had their eyes on. He got injured, and then, it was Benedict Mathurin, Paolo, and a couple other guys. But, Jalen Williams should definitely finish second. So,
Yeah, I had Keegan Murray as well. And then I had Paulo as an honorable mention. But Paulo just ran off with it since the start of the season. The guy's been playing phenomenal. The reason I picked Keegan Murray is the same as Abdi. We didn't know multiple of these guys were going to step up. Malik Monk, Huter, Harrison Barnes had a good year. Sabonis had another great year. So, it factored in for him to take the backseat a little bit this season, although he did play great. But, yeah, Paulo ran off with that award since the jump of the season. And, like Abdi said, he picked Jalen Williams. I'm going to go Benedict Mathurin. I feel like Mathurin, he had a phenomenal season with the Pacers coming off the bench. He averaged 17, was a great key scorer off the bench for them. And he had a little inconsistency on the 3-point line, but that comes with being a rookie. He putting up a lot of shots, but he's played a phenomenal role as well. But Paulo's the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, like I said, I think I only had a couple picks right, and this was my second correct pick. I had Paulo winning it from the jump, and I still got Paulo winning it from the jump for all the reasons you guys highlighted. I just felt like this guy was the most NBA ready coming into this league as a rookie. I mean, he finished off the year shooting pretty terrible. Obviously, 42% from the field, 30% from three. and 74% from the line. So obviously there's still room to grow, and he is a rookie, so you can't necessarily be too harsh about that. But I feel like he's been the best rookie throughout the entire season. He had his struggles in February, but he was able to overcome it with a strong March and a decent April to close out the season. So I feel like the sky's the limit for this guy. I feel like 20 points per game is probably the lowest he's probably going to ever average. I feel like it's only going to go up and up from here. The same feeling that I had with Jalen Green last year, I feel like I'm going to have the same exact feeling with Paula coming into next year. So he's going to take a leap in scoring, and it's going to be nice to see him progress as a player and shoot a lot better from the field. You know, obviously 42% from the field and 30% from the 3-point line. It's just not going to cut it, but he is a rookie and there is room to grow. So it's gonna be an interesting offseason to see Paulo, come into his own going into next year. But we'll go ahead and close it out with Coach of the Year for our NBA award predictions. This one should be a no-brainer too.
So Coach of the Year, I had Chris Finch. I expected the Timberwolves to, and it didn't help the fact that they suffered from a Karl-Anthony Towns injury to begin the season. There's a lot of chemistry issues. The fit seemed kind of awkward. It didn't just mesh right. And of course, injuries don't help at all. And so this year, I think this should be obvious. He's going to run away with this award. Is definitely Mike Brown from the Sacramento Kings. I mean, he's done an absolute phenomenal job. I don't think people had the Kings being this good this season. They definitely had the offense being great, but they didn't expect them to be this high in seeding. Coming into the season, I think the Kings, I don't think I even had them in my top 10 seeds. Now they've come in and they finished as top 3 seed. Just testament to how good Mike Brown has been coming from that Warrior system. But an honorable mention and someone who I think currently sits at second place is Mark Daigneault from the Oklahoma City Thunder. Coming to this season, they were projected without Chet 17.5 wins. And so now they're finishing about with 40 wins with Mark Daigneault as their head coach. I think he's done an excellent job. And especially when you look at him being a young head coach for a rebuilding team, comparing to teams like Houston, look at what they're doing over there compared to what he's instilled over here in Oklahoma. So I think he's done a phenomenal job with this team, getting him to the play-in. So he's my runner-up.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
give you credit though. You did have the Sacramento Kings being a playing team, so
I
I
did.
remember that. Yeah, you did. You had it being like around like 10th or 9th, I believe.
Interesting. Because I looked at it again, I had the Blazers ahead of them.
Sacramento was definitely somewhere between 9 or 10th, so I think you probably had the Blazers somewhere between 7 or 8 or 9.
yeah. For me, it was Ty Lue. Coming into this season, I felt like with the pieces he picked up and all the players that they got, I felt like they could have been a top 2, top 3 seed. But I felt like Kawhi game management, PG getting hurt late in the season, them trading for Westbrook late in the season. It was a lot going on. Him dealing with a lot of family deaths towards I forgot when it like mid-January. He said that he lost about 7 of his family members.
Yeah, from like December all the way until like
December to
January.
January. So there's a lot going on with him. But I had Ty Lue coming into the season as Coach of the Year. I feel like if Kawhi played a majority of the games, if PG was healthy towards the end of the season, they could have been up there. But Coach of the Year is definitely Mike Brown. I feel like he deserves it. Bringing this Kings team to the playoffs, especially to a 3rd seed in a stacked West, 100% he's going to win this Coach of the Year. And then I agree with Abdi on the OKC one. It's either OKC. What's his the head coach name again? Daigneault. Mark Daigneault, and then I had JB Bickerstaff from the Cavs as well. So I feel like the Cavs, JB, picking up Mitchell and getting all these pieces, sitting at 51 wins this year. He played not played phenomenal, but he coached a phenomenal team defensively and offensively. But Mike Brown's going to win Coach of the Year.
Yeah, Mike Brown's gonna win it for sure. Don't gotta say too much about that. But my original pick, I had Mike Malone. I feel like I had the idea. The thing was the platform was like right there for me, but I had the Nuggets being the 1 seed in the Western Conference. But all the credit in the world didn't go to him. It went all the way to Nikola Jokic and his greatness. And of course, Nikola Jokic is the engine to that team. He's the best player for that team, and without him, nothing is possible. But all the credit went to him, and Mike Malone didn't necessarily get a lot of the credit. So that's where I bricked at. But Mike Brown, I think he's deserving of this by a long shot, by a landslide. Shouldn't even be close. A guy that I had as my honorable mention, Willie Green for the New Orleans Pelicans. I think I was extremely high on the Pelicans, man, and it's just to watch their season collapse ever since like January has been tough to watch, man. But he was my honorable mention, and I think you got the honor mentions you guys mentioned. I think you can't necessarily go wrong with either or. So, but as we all know, Mike Brown's going to win this award deservingly. So, I mean, he led the Kings to the best offensive rating in NBA history, and that's not, this is Sacramento Kings we're talking about, and people don't necessarily bring that up. But that pretty much wraps up our NBA award predictions.
Record a new hit, then we making us a film. Wouldn't sign a deal if I got a couple mil. Been in the lab, now they throwing out deals. Me and now Lakes, now that's overkill.